It all started subtly, almost too subtly to notice at first. My wife, Lydia, had begun spending more time on her phone, her lips curving into small, secretive smiles at messages I couldn't see. Sometimes she'd even chuckle, lost in a conversation that I was never invited into. When I asked, she dismissed my curiosity with a casual shrug, claiming it was just her colleagues in a group chat. I wanted to believe her. I truly did. For 10 years, Lydia had been my partner, my confidant, my entire world. But something in my gut whispered that this wasn't just about funny work memes. At first, I hesitated to act on my suspicions. Trust was the foundation of our marriage, and I had always believed in it. But trust, I realized, should never be blind. The little signs were easy to overlook at first. An unfamiliar cologne clinging to her clothes, sudden late nights at the office, the growing distance in her touch, her conversations, her very presence in our home. It hurt. It hurt like hell. But I couldn't ignore it anymore. I needed proof. The night I decided to follow her was one of the longest nights of my life. She had told me she was going out for a wine night with her girlfriends. I nodded, pretending to accept her excuse. But as soon as she walked out the door, I grabbed my keys and followed her. My heart pounded in my chest, hands trembling against the steering wheel as I trailed her car through the dimly lit streets. She parked outside a hotel, stepping out with a practiced ease, smoothing down the fabric of her dress as if she had done this 100 times before. I waited, my pulse a thunderous drum in my ears. 15 minutes later, a man arrived, tall, confident, sharply dressed. They exchanged a laugh, an intimate one, before disappearing into the elevator together. I sat there in my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. The realization was a punch to the gut. The woman I had given my heart to, the woman I had built a life with, was sharing laughs in hotel rooms with another man. I wanted to storm inside, to demand answers, to scream, but I didn't. I drove home in silence, waiting for her to return. When she finally walked through the door around midnight, she smelled of whiskey and something else, something that wasn't me. I asked her how her night was. She smiled, told me it was great, then kissed my cheek like she hadn't just spent the evening with another man. I didn't confront her, not yet. I needed time. Time to think. Time to plan. If she wanted to play games, I would play too. The next day, I hired a private investigator. If I was going to confront her, I needed undeniable proof. And proof was exactly what I got. Over the next few weeks, the PI sent me photos and videos that made my stomach churn. Lydia wasn't just having an affair. She was deeply involved with this man. Fancy dinners, weekend getaways, thoughtful, expensive gifts. It was like watching a twisted soap opera starring my wife. But the final betrayal? That came when I discovered she was using our joint savings to fund her affair. A credit card bill revealed charges for 5-star hotel rooms, luxury lingerie, and high-end restaurants, all under the guise of work expenses. That was the breaking point. I set my trap carefully. One Friday evening, I invited Lydia to dinner at our favorite restaurant. The place where we had celebrated anniversaries, whispered dreams of our future, shared love. She seemed surprised but pleased, likely thinking I was making an effort to rekindle whatever was left between us. She dressed up, looking every bit like the woman I had fallen in love with. But as we sat across from each other, sipping wine, I saw in her eyes distance. Her mind was elsewhere, probably with him. When dessert arrived, I reached into my jacket and pulled out a manila envelope, sliding across the table. She looked at it, puzzled, before opening it. The color drained from her face as she flipped through the contents. Photos of her with him, credit card statements, a detailed timeline of her betrayal. Her lips parted, a stammered, half-formed denial tumbling out. What is this? I leaned back, my voice calm but cold. You tell me. She blinked rapidly, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. And then, to my disbelief, she laughed. Not a nervous giggle, not an apologetic chuckle. A full-throated, mocking laugh. "You've been spying on me?" she scoffed, smirking. "That's pathetic, Ethan. Pathetic." The word echoed in my ears, igniting a fire I hadn't realized was there. But I didn't let it show. I simply smiled. You know what else is pathetic? I said smoothly, using our hard-earned money to cheat on your husband. Her smirk faltered. She recovered quickly, crossing her arms. Look, Ethan, things haven't been great between us for a while. Maybe if you had paid more attention to me, this wouldn't have happened. Classic deflection. I nodded, pretending to consider her words. You might have a point, I admitted. But here's the thing. I have been paying attention, and I've been planning. Her expression shifted, confusion, then unease. What are you talking about? You'll find out soon enough, I said, standing up. Dinner's on me. Enjoy your evening. I left her there, her face a mix of confusion and fear. That night, I packed my essentials and moved out. Unbeknownst to her, I had already secured a furnished apartment weeks ago. I wasn't going to beg, fight, or plead. I was done. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind. I had consulted a divorce attorney long before that dinner, and together we executed my plan flawlessly. I froze our joint accounts, leaving Lydia with only her personal savings. I canceled the credit card she had been abusing. And the house? That was in my name, a detail she had conveniently overlooked. She had no legal claim to it. When the divorce papers were served, she was forced to move out, scrambling to find a place to stay. Her lover didn't take kindly to her sudden financial troubles. Apparently, he wasn't as invested in their love as she had thought. Within a month, he ghosted her, leaving her to deal with the wreckage alone. I made sure she couldn't twist the story. The evidence I had gathered wasn't just of the divorce. It was for my own protection. When she tried to play the victim in court, claiming I had been distant and unloving, my attorney laid out the cold, hard facts. The judge wasn't sympathetic. In the end, Lydia got nothing. No alimony, no share of the house, no sympathy from anyone who had once been in her corner. Even her friends distanced themselves, unwilling to be associated with the fallout. And me? I walked away with my dignity intact. The betrayal had been devastating, but in a strange way it freed me. I threw myself into my work, rediscovered old hobbies, strengthened friendships I had neglected. Months later, I received a text from Lydia. Asterisk, I'm sorry for everything. I miss you. Asterisk. I stared at the message, feeling nothing. Then, without hesitation, I deleted it. Lydia had made her choices. And so had I. Justice isn't always about revenge. Sometimes, it's simply about reclaiming your power, your self-respect, and your peace. And in that sense, I had won. For the first time in years, I felt free.